This is a tale of two cooks, one kitchen, one drawer, and a dream. A dream of home-cooked meals. Gone would be the day our daughter would come home from school asking, "What's for dinner?" And our most creative response, Chinese takeout. It has vegetables, people. We wanted to cook. We wanted to eat healthy. What we needed was a workflow to accomplish our task. I bet a bunch of you are a bit like me, either on your way or are a power user, and as such have created your own workflows from time to time. And a bit like me, you've learned a lot of hard lessons in creating those workflows, especially when other people are involved. This is about my workflows and my lessons in learning how to create them and how they have helped us reach our dream of home-cooked meals. I'm using cooking because even if you hate it, even if you go out to eat for every meal, even if you've burnt ice cream, you know what cooking is. This is our tale. A tale of two cooks. One a power user, the other not so much. A dream of home-cooked meals and the limitation of a kitchen with only one pathetic drawer. Several years ago, we were struggling financially. We were in debt. We were overspending. We weren't tracking the goes-indas or the goes-outas. I'm going to confess something here. Please don't tell anybody. I'm an engineer. I'm one credit shy of a math minor. Complicated logic equations are my day job. But the minute you put a dollar sign in front of a number, all bets are off. Addition and subtraction might as well be Gaelic. What I needed was an app to take care of all the mathy math and courses on budgeting. Where do you go? The internet. It seems that a lot of people have similar problems to me. They're all trying to understand Gaelic. I mean money. Fortunately for me, I stumbled upon an app, YNAB, or You Need a Budget. Wow, that was really popular. The company not only had an app, but courses on how to budget. So I took their courses and built our budget. Installed the app on my wife's phone, taught her how to use it, and thought all my money problems were solved. It lasted 2 days. Melissa, my wife, is smart. This wasn't her fault. And I'm not just saying that because this is being recorded and she'll watch it later. This was my fault. In my experience, unless you're really careful, very few workflows survive first contact with another person. And the financial debacle that I went through taught me just that. So the first lesson you need to have is the other person's acknowledgement there's a problem. With the financial workflow, I didn't even talk to Melissa. I'm a power user. I went straight to trying to solve the problem. Unfortunately, I was blind to the idea that she might not see that as a problem. When I was 6 or 7, my dad decided to build a house on the side of a mountain. He needed a couple of those large earth mover tractors to get everything around. He'd pepper the construction crews with lots of questions. My dad was an engineer too. He'd ask things like, how do they work? What do you do to maintain them? Can you teach me how to drive them? And they did. They taught him. My brother and I would listen. One weekend, we got a really good idea. We found their grease guns that they use, and we decided to perform maintenance on those tractors. Come Monday morning, they found their tractors covered from top to bottom with grease. To say those construction crews were less than thrilled was an understatement. Fortunately for me, I got my wife's acknowledgement that 2 cooks, 1 kitchen with 1 drawer was a problem. Sometimes, though, you can come across people who don't realize they have a problem when they have one. This is because they've become numb to it. They've been living with it for so long, they can't see a possible solution. They can be blind to your efforts. And this blind spot can make it difficult to get them to acknowledge that there's a problem. So I have 2 suggestions in that case. 1, come with a partial solution and have them come the rest, as the famous words of Will Smith. You go 90, they go 10, if you know that reference. Or come with a complete solution, but be open to changing it. This is the best way to get their acknowledgement that they have a problem. After you got their acknowledgement that there's a problem, you need to listen to them. With the financial workflow, I went straight to a solution. Yes, YNAB is very popular here, but I didn't ask my wife what would work for her. I didn't try to gain an understanding how she operated. I was too into the new and cool, distracted by the shiny, and a new app and a budgeting system to go with it was pretty shiny. But in the end, it was tarnished because it didn't work for us. It didn't solve the financial problems. When you're working with another person, you need to realize collaboration means compromise, means understanding what they need. And with the cooking workflow, I did just that. I listened to what my wife had to say and how to solve the problem. A few years ago, I went to an industry conference with a coworker. We learned all sorts of neat programming tricks. One trick was so neat, so innovative, so awesome, we immediately went to work on it. It resulted in less code, it took us less time to write. It was, well, pretty. But it required some archaic understanding of the language. My coworker and I were too distracted by the new and cool and shiny that we failed to realize other people would need to understand it. When he left the company and I got promoted, multiple other people came in contact with that code. It confused everybody that came into contact with it. They didn't think it was pretty. And they hadn't been to the industry conference where we learned all the cool tricks. We ended up pulling that code and rebuilding it. It resulted in more code and was less inefficient, but it gave understanding. And that understanding was vital. Sometime in the future, maybe even your future self after a long hiatus, may have to work with that workflow. And having understanding of it, even if that understanding requires more time up front, is vital. You are power users after all, right? I mean, that term is used around a lot. David and Stephen gave their definition of it last night in their 500th episode. Congratulations go out to David and the team for putting on that show for so long. They would be the experts because I don't have a show of 500 episodes. To me, a power user is all about trying to be efficient with everything they can do. And I'm an extreme case. I'm extremely lazy. That's how efficient I want to be. I'm lazy in all aspects of my life. Anyone work out? I'm lazy there too. That's why I'm a power lifter. You won't see me doing bicep curls or shoulder shrugs. I do big lifts, get in, get out, and be done. I'm efficient at the gym. And I'm the same way with my Apple devices. That's why I create workflows. I'm so lazy with everything I can be, I automate as much as possible. And listen to Rosemary talk about it. Many of your apps have hidden automation in them. Check them out. Speaking of apps, anyone familiar with this one? One day, my wife was looking at the finances and goes, "Why is OmniFocus so expensive?" I was really confused. I said, "It isn't. It's like $100. And then she asked the question that I don't know if any of you have been involved in, where you want to step back and have 20 minutes to think about the answer. Goes, "So what are all these add-ons by Karosh Dini, Asian Efficiency, Max Sparky, and Joe Bulick?" Dawning realized on my face, and I said, "Oh, those are courses on making me more efficient with the app." She said I had issues. Melissa didn't get that I wanted to be the most efficient I could be with the app, hence 4 courses. Melissa isn't a power user, doesn't want to be a power user, and never is going to be a power user. They say there are 2 types of people in this world. Those that are power users and those that tolerate us. And that tolerance is key to how Melissa and I were able to get to our dream of home-cooked meals. But what to do with that one drawer? I mean, seriously, who builds a house with a kitchen and only one drawer? Who buys a house? Yeah, that was me. But the drawer wasn't the only limiting factor of that kitchen. I mean, as you can see from this picture, we don't have a big fridge, we don't have a large pantry, and that is all our counter space. Where do we put our utensils? Where do we put our spices? Where do we put our bags of tortilla chips? That kitchen was our limitation. It was our constraint. And many workflows are built out of constraints. And those constraints could be space, as it was in our case. It could be time. It could be money. Workflows built out of constraints and identifying them early is best. These are the boundaries to your solution to whatever problem that ails you. So identify those constraints up front if you can. Now, I'll be fair. We were cooking long before we had a workflow. We weren't all Chinese food. But our recipes were all over the place. Some were in books, some were on websites, and some were on index cards. Took you a little bit. Our meal planning was on paper. No offense to Joe Bulick and his analog systems. We'd write every day of the week what we were making and where the recipe was. We lost that paper several times, which allowed for more creativity in ingredients. I mean, what do people put kohlrabi in? Our grocery shopping was also on paper. I tried to convince Melissa to use a list app, whether it's Reminders, Evernote, whatever, and she said it was too tedious to type in the recipes, ingredients, into the list. She'd rather handwrite it. It was faster. Now, grocery shopping on paper had several issues with me. One, we'd forget to copy an ingredient over for the recipe we're making, forcing us to go back to the store. Or we'd be cooking, like da-da-da-da, and we'd go to grab the garlic, only find out it was missing, forcing us to go back to the store. Or our daughter, anybody parents here, would decide she doesn't like mac and cheese today, forcing us to go back to the store. And that second trip to the store was tricky. It'd take time, and we'd be hungry. Sometimes we'd be in the middle of cooking, which put whatever we were making at risk. And anybody who's gone to the grocery store knows you tend to leave with more stuff than you wanted, especially Costco. They say don't go to the grocery store when you're hungry. This is doubly true if you're addicted to tortilla chips. There had to have been a better way. One morning, I was searching the internet, as you do, and I stumbled upon an app, Paprika. I was just looking. I was just looking for something to manage our recipes, as I was tired of them being all over the place. What I got was a hell of a lot more. Not only does Paprika manage your recipes, it does your meal planning and grocery lists as well. It was like a one-stop shop to this problem. I liked the demo, but it was expensive. Because at the time in Paprika 2, you had to buy it for all your devices. And I know this because after about 20 minutes of playing with the demo, I bought them all. I then rushed into my wife's bedroom, or our bedroom, whichever way you want to say it, woke her up, and told her I bought an app. I told her all our kitchen woes have been solved, and I spent $100 to do it. I learned a number of lessons that morning. One, please learn from me. One, don't ever wake up somebody telling them that you bought an app. Especially if they've not had their coffee. Don't tell them the price of the app until they've tried the app, unless they've had their coffee. And don't proclaim the hero of the kitchen woes is an app after only playing with it for 20 minutes. Because Paprika didn't solve all our issues. We still had holes, and that's why we created workflows. And I'll go over a bit of that in my deep dive, and more jokes. Melissa loves telling the story of how we got Paprika, because she says, well, he was dumb. He spent $100, but now it's our favorite app and we use it all the time. And we use the workflows that we've created to fill in the holes that we're missing. We no longer have recipes everywhere, no more forgotten ingredients, no more missing garlic. But this dream wouldn't have happened if I hadn't struggled with the financial workflow, if I didn't listen to Melissa. Yes, I did buy the app Paprika without asking her first, but I knew what she was looking for. She didn't want to handwrite all the recipes, and Paprika doesn't import. And I did wake her up without coffee about an app. And if you do that, you start having to make coffee for her on a regular basis. But I did get her acknowledgement that there was a problem. I did listen to what her concerns were. I did make it simple to understand, and I did identify the constraints ahead of time. And what's cool is that workflow helped us a ton in our cooking. It reduced the stress of all the cooking we were doing. And that reduction in stress made us better cooks. It allowed us to play. I learned how to make and cure custom bacon. Yes, and I've even had talks on that. Unfortunately, I tried to bribe Mike Potter with this, but he doesn't eat bacon. So then I said, well, I'll talk to my wife, and she makes homemade marshmallows. Lemons marshmallows, if you've not had them, are amazing. I did ask really nicely to see if she'd make some for you guys, and then she asked how many attendees, and I said around 300, and she said, I have a full-time job already. As power users, our mantra in creating workflows should be identify constraints, automate as much as possible, make it easy to understand, and listen to the other people that are going to engage in that workflow. If you do, you will reach whatever your dreams are of 2 cooks, 1 kitchen, 1 drawer, and many, many home-cooked meals. Thank you.